Hello, guys. Welcome back. We're back after a week off, and this time we got company. I want to welcome back Zach Carmian. He's back with us on Tinkle Sports now. Um, yeah, and Zach, you've got a new show that's coming over here. So before we start, how about you tell us a little bit about that?
So Tinkle Focus. So this show that I'm gonna start, it's gonna be basically me talking about whatever sports topic is going on. So, example right now, the Stanley Cup's going on. Get on, talk about the Stanley Cup, focus on that or whatnot. It's probably once a week, so it may not be every week. It may be more like every once in a while, but it will be a consistent whatever it is. So if it may be every 2 weeks, it may be every week, depending on my schedule. So I'm not going to be doing, I'll have 3 episodes this week and zero the next week. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
So I will focus on a main topic, and then we'll talk about other stuff for a short period of the episode, maybe just wind it down, but we're going to focus on a certain topic. That's what the point of the
yeah.
show is. So,
Sounds good. So it sounds like your Take Five idea, kind of, right? Is that
yeah, take
what you're
five.
going for?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
All right. So that's coming soon on Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. Zach, welcome back. We're glad to have you
Thanks.
back here under our banner here. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk some truck series at Knoxville. We also got the SRX race. Some big news out of that one. Of course, we'll have our chance to call out some of the media TV rights deals that we love to call out here on Out of Turn 4.
Yep.
Crew chief changes. We're also going to talk the street course that might be coming to NASCAR soon, and we got our race picks, but we kick it off with the truck series at Knoxville. And Todd Gilliland delivered his dad quite a big win. Of course, he won the truck race for his dad's team, David Gilliland Racing, in his first and I believe only start, because now the truck series, the Cup drivers and Xfinity drivers can't run the rest of the year. So, hey, he's got a better average finish than Kyle Busch.
True.
Overall, I think we talked beforehand. Maybe Knoxville's not the place for them.
No, no. Let's get rid of Knoxville. Let's go back to Eldora. I don't know how many times you have to
Yeah.
say it.
What
NASCAR, you
was
screwed up. I hope Tony Stewart doesn't
uh,
let them back at Eldora. I'll laugh my butt off if he doesn't do that, because they don't. Eldora doesn't need NASCAR. NASCAR needs Eldora. It's a totally opposite
yeah,
of what we think it is.
exactly.
So
See, I like the idea of two dirt tracks. I think honestly the trucks handle the dirt the best out of any single
right.
series that runs there, minus ARCA. ARCA does pretty decent on the dirt itself, but the Cup Series, I'd actually like to see what they do on a real dirt track and not this part concrete, part dirt, whatever Bristol wants to
The
call
walls aren't
themselves.
tall enough. Walls are not they're not really tall enough. So yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's not really. It's kind of a safety hazard in my opinion. But
yeah,
yeah, I think the trucks would be
but
better off going to Eldora and another track
of course,
that is more like Eldora,
yeah,
not a straight track like Knoxville. Which to me, Knoxville reminds me of Bristol Dirt in that way. The straightaways are too
see,
long for a dirt track, in my personal opinion. For at least a stock car.
yeah.
Obviously, a sprint car would be totally
I
different,
mean,
but a
you
stock
know,
car or stock truck, whatever,
mm,
it's not
yeah,
it's not very good because it makes it harder. You have to turn in. I mean, people like, oh, it's hard. That's why we want it. No, that's not the reason. And also maybe because Knoxville
mm,
is not banked enough, and that may be the main issue here. It doesn't provide good racing, in my personal
well,
opinion.
at least
If you
for
want it to be a
NASCAR.
wreck show, yeah. If you want it to be a wreck show, then all love it. I get you love that. Well, I don't love
Yep,
that. I like watching real racing. I like watching competitive racing,
yeah.
not having to slide into one another to make
I'm
that happen.
pretty sure the
Um,
crews don't like wreck fests either. Ask the people that
no,
gotta work overnights fixing the trucks because NASCAR only allots them so much.
exactly.
So, I will say Knoxville deserves every credit in the world for being one of the greatest dirt tracks in the world. Um, but they're not built. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if
Iowa's literally 30 minutes up the road.
yeah,
Please just go to Iowa. It's a
And
perfect oval, probably the
yeah,
best oval, 1 mile oval there is on the schedule. It's a 1 mile, right?
yeah, it's about a little close, a little over or a little under, one of those.
Yeah, it's better in
But
Richmond, so that's
yeah,
all I will say.
see, what I will say though is this kind of looked like Atlanta last year, the last Atlanta race where the track peeled apart because one
Okay.
big gigantic clump of dirt came up and killed Ben Rhodes' truck there. Somehow he drove it back to the top 10, but that didn't happen at Eldora.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's because they don't have that stupid ass banking thing, which I don't get why it's there. I'm sorry, I'm not an avid dirt racer, dirt
Yeah,
fan,
I don't follow it
so I
enough.
don't get the stupid dirt mound that's in the middle of the track. I don't care if it provides better racing or not. It doesn't work with
Mm,
a stock car with a splitter. Of course, NASCAR is stupid to have
I've
splitters and dirt races, and they're stupid for having windshields in dirt races. That's just fucking
even
stupid
even
in my
the dirt
thinking to me.
even the dirt specialists that run full time in the series, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Stuart Friesen, have all said the windshield makes it so dumb to begin with. They
And
have
not
to
only that, not only that, for some reason, Knoxville to me, just like Bristol dirt, picks up way too much dust. There's way too much dust at Knoxville, and not
yeah.
I don't feel like Eldora has much dust, and that could be because it's
Hmm,
different type of dirt, and that's what I'm thinking.
yeah.
I'd rather go to Florida where I think the dirt would be less dusty in my opinion, or somewhere in the southeast.
Yeah.
It's not so dusty, but that's just me.
I don't know. Like I said, I'll finish it up, or I'll leave it at this. I went to Outlaw Speedway when I went to Watkins Glen last year, and if you have not heard of Outlaw Speedway, when you go to Watkins Glen, it's in Dundee, I believe. It's like a 20-minute drive from Watkins Glen. Beautiful dirt track, no walls really, but it's really nice, small, confined, provides some really good racing. You know, yeah, dirt kicks up, but that's also sprints and modifieds and all that. It's cars that are built to run on the dirt.
Right.
Um, you know, so it's good racing. They have, don't get me wrong, NASCAR did start out on the dirt, 100%.
Right.
It's nice to see it run once in a while, add a different challenge, but they should modify the vehicles or modify the or go to a real dirt track. Number one, I think, is the start, and number
Hmm.
two, modify the cars so that way they can handle the dirt tracks.
Well, you got options. You got Charlotte Motor Speedway. Instead of doing whatever we want to do with
It's
uh, the
let's
Roval, we
let's
can do the dirt track. What about that for a year? See how that goes.
you know.
We'll go to a real road course instead of doing this Roval
Mhm.
stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not a huge fan of the Charlotte Roval. That's my personal opinion. It's not a my
You
opinion. It
say
just
that,
doesn't.
and my opinion's always been, at least for the last 3 years, is that personally, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, the Coca-Cola 600's the worst race out of the whole year, outside of
I think that
Texas.
there should be a date. I think that Daytona Roval should be used in NASCAR. Personal opinion. I don't like the freaking straightaway, front straightaway,
Then
stupid.
you know
Like,
what?
let's use the IMSA
If
track. Not
yeah, and
let's not use a NASCAR Roval.
if they're so concerned about the speeds that these cars will reach, why not run that 550 bullshit horsepower thing that you run?
I thought it provided good racing. My personal opinion. I actually enjoyed the Roval at Daytona when they raced there. So for
You know what?
NASCAR, I've always liked it anyway for
The front
IMSA. So
the front stretch chicane had one big moment, and that was Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney crashing through it
right,
at
exactly,
the shootout, which was great. I'll give them
right,
I'll give them the credit. That was a great finish. But
yeah.
for a regular season race, run the actual track minus that. You want to change
Yeah,
it for the Clash or whatever, which the Clash is going back to the Coliseum.
not a
That we
huge fan of
didn't have
that, but
down.
that's a lot of waste of money in my opinion. But whatever,
A
that's
waste of
Fox
money
for you.
just so that way at the checkered flag, the stadium officials can tell you, oh, by the way, you need to get your shit out of here in the next 7 days.
Yeah,
But anyway, we move on. Helio Castro Neves is the winner at Five Flags. Should I note that he didn't have a ride until 10 a.m. that morning? Okay, wasn't expected to drive at that race. He, of course, climbed the fence, got his first career SRX win. And a little interesting note that I found out as I went to bed that night, the SRX GM had a word with Helio before the season because Helio couldn't run the full year. He said, if you can win a race in SRX, we will give you a ride at Daytona on the NASCAR side. So now it appears that Helio, whether it's the Coke 600 or Coke 400, which I doubt it's going to be that race, or the Daytona 500 in 2023, it appears that Helio Castroneves will be a part of the field.
It makes a sense if it is it makes more sense if it is a 500 because IndyCar schedule doesn't start till March. So I think the Daytona during August is always ends up on the IndyCar races. So
it's usually around Portland race weekend.
Yeah. If Portland's still in the schedule,
yeah,
which hopefully
it's either
not.
Portland or Gateway, one of those two races that it always falls on.
All right.
So I will say Helio will drive up the ratings for the 500, okay? Because you literally, you just got to market him like you did Jimmy Johnson in the Indy 500. Just keep marketing him, and people are going to watch.
I don't know if that's the case with IndyCar. To be completely honest, I think it's kind of fallen on their face about Jimmy Johnson because he's just terrible. But that's the point. Benny Johnson, okay? So, yeah.
I will
give me a Carvana voucher when you're at it, too, because I can't get enough of those Carvana coins that come up on the screen every time we go to a commercial break. So
yeah, we got more on that in a moment. But I will say... Project 91 is a possibility. I as far as teams that sign him, because Project 91 has said we want to put foreign drivers in the car. Helio's from Brazil, and Helio, look at his resume. If there's no sponsor, there's no way that no sponsor would want to not back him, I guess is where I was going with it. So there's going to be a sponsor out there that wants to help him, and if they don't, keep in mind, he's with Mike Shank, and I believe Mike Shank is the GM for SiriusXM.
Well, yeah, I can see SiriusXM. It does fall in line with what they want, what Trackhouse is looking for when it comes to sponsors. You look at what Justin Marks said when he first found the team. He wants scientific, media-related sponsors. Mm-hmm. So the SiriusXM works for that. The one thing I want to say is that I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Kanaan gets a chance. Speaking of Tony Kanaan, this year he's been racing in the Brazil Stock Car Series. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if he ends up in a NASCAR at some point, maybe at Daytona or maybe at a road course or some sort.
I wouldn't even be shocked if it happened at your favorite track, MIS here, Michigan International. Just because that's a track he's had success at, but it will
that
be
track
an
needs
oval,
to be burned down, just like Texas Motor Speedway, blown up with TNT, and then the land needs to be taken away and thrown in. Well, yeah, I'd be fine with that. Or put an Amazon fucking warehouse on top of it. I don't care. Get rid of the place.
I'll tell you though,
probably gonna be a cornfield.
The one I see most likely happening is Joseph Newgarden in the Bristol night race, because he's been wanting that for years. But we move on here. So there was a bunch of mess ups the last few weeks. We start with the NBC one. You brought this to my attention, that NBC missed the start completely and continued like everyone was watching on Peacock.
Coverage. Sorry, I'm shaking my head, by the way, that the Tampa Bay just took the lead. So
I like that.
Yeah, NBC. NBC. I'm sorry. NBC is the worst the worst media company in the entire world. I'm sorry. They have the worst streaming platform. Worst streaming platform name, by the way, Peacock. Like, come on. You can't come up with something better than that. Mm-hmm. It has to be Peacock. It has to be an inside joke every time you say the name.
Could have been Comcast
The other
Plus.
thing is, well, could have been. But yeah, you look at NBC as a whole, the company. There's not much going on there. Let's be honest. Not much going on there. They lost the NHL. They lost a lot of their key. They're going to lose the NFL. That's what's going to happen. They're going to lose the NFL. So I guess they go after Formula One, I guess, like you said earlier. But
and add in that they completely ruined their Sunday Night Football team by letting go of Drew Brees for Jason Garrett.
And in the Olympics was a complete, utter failure on behalf of NBC. They have completely died out as a company, in my opinion. But the fact that they went from commercial, from a golf documentary about some guy from Japan. Nothing wrong with anybody from Japan. I'm just trying to tell you what it was. It was a documentary about a golf player from Japan. I don't know his name. And then commercial break, a full commercial break. Not only that, you had a commercial that was 45 seconds long, whatever it was, Dr. Scholl's or whatever it was. And then instant to turn one, lap one at Road America. And the first thing you see is Jimmy Johnson spinning out, and no standings, no nothing. No standings for the first 14 minutes of the broadcast because they didn't start on time because the documentary went overtime, I guess. Don't know why. Just turn the golf documentary off. Tell everybody to go to Peacock you want to watch it. Who cares about golf? I'm sorry. I don't care what you think. Golf is not.
It wasn't even the U.S. Open.
More.
If it was the U.S. Open,
it was a documentary.
Yeah, if it was the U.S. Open, it would have been understandable slightly as to why. Because, I mean, the U.S. Open is one of the biggest majors of the year. So I would understand, but at least put on the bottom of the screen, hey, the start of the race can be found on Peacock. We will go over there, after we're done with our coverage or something. If it was the U.S. Open.
And why was there a commercial break? What was the need for a commercial break?
Yeah.
First of all, what was the need of that?
What's funny is most networks, right when they cut IndyCar, the second the checkered flag ends, they immediately go to a screen that says, we now join our currently scheduled program in process.
Exactly. And then not only that, that's just the first part. You had that caution. And then there's no standings. We don't have anybody is like casual.
Not even a starting lineup.
No starting lineup or anything. And then instant commercial again, and commercial break for about 4 minutes. 4 minutes, okay? 4 minute commercial
Nothing new
break.
for NBC.
Nothing new. And then instant to another green flag with no starting order for the green flag. Like, seriously. Road America's the longest track in North America, okay?
And arguably one of the best ones.
Yes, and you can't manage to find time to show us standings or get a rundown what's going on in the race between cautions. Yeah. Like, seriously. You can't tell me they only did one lap caution. There's no way IndyCar did a one lap caution. That's just it's 3, right? Required, right? Am I wrong?
I think on road courses it can be 1 or 2. Because when I was at Watkins Glen, it was generally 1 or 2.
Okay. But yeah, you still should have had enough time to gone through the order and all that before we get back to green again. Like, seriously.
Yeah. And on top
of it, 14 minutes in, about 14:50 in, I think it was 14:52. Finally the standings popped up on the screen. So, whatever.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say this: NBC's gotten far ahead of their time right now. They need to realize we're not in 2032. We're in 2022. Streaming is not that big yet. We're still on the cusp of, to be honest, streaming is still at the very beginning phase of where it is. 10 years from now, maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. Streaming will be bigger in 10 years, more than likely. Once people start getting annoyed with their Spectrum, Xfinity, DirecTV, once they're sick of paying the higher prices. But I told you before the show, I hold Lee Diffie in very high regard. I think he's one of the best broadcasters. I think NBC, that's the one thing NBC does right, is they got amazing broadcasters for their positions.
Exactly.
Dale Jr. on the NASCAR side. Granted, at first,
now,
it was name only at first, but he's really grown into a great broadcaster. Lee Diffie, amazing motorsport broadcaster. But this is on him too. Not as much NBC, but it is on him for not coming out and saying at
Mike
the beginning,
Tirico, another great. Mike Tirico,
Tirico's going to be great.
broadcaster.
Tirico is a great addition to Sunday Night
He's my favorite
Football.
dude.
Yeah,
Probably my favorite
Syracuse guy, by the
broadcaster out
way.
there, so.
Syracuse guy.
Yeah.
But I have to bring that up every time. But I will say you shouldn't be going into a broadcast expecting that everybody flipped over from Peacock to start the race on NBC. There's no way anyone.
They're not cocking it out,
there.
Okay? They're not cocking it out, all right?
Okay.
They're not cocking it out.
So let's just be fair here. You should have said, this is on Lee Diffie. He should have said at the beginning of the broadcast when they told him in his earpiece, hey, you just went live on NBC. He should have immediately said, if you're just joining us, this is Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe. We're just getting underway at Road America. So-and-so is the pole sitter, the race leader right now. You know, it's your job to inform, and to me, he fell short on that.
Right. Yep.
And it may have very well been his producers that didn't tell him. Again, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors and what they told him. But, again, you know, we have... Here on Out of Turn 4, we have probably, I mean, we've gone 20 minutes so far. We probably got like 40 of just NBC bashing because of just all the blunders that they've had in the 2 years we've done this show.
Well, yeah, obviously. And not only that, the blunder was the Indy 500 this year. So that's just a start. So, I mean, we could go for hours about how the 500 was terribly broadcast this year, in my opinion. But
it wasn't great. Let's just put it that way. No. But I will give them credit for finishing the race on NBC and showing everything for once.
Exactly.
They did the right thing. But Fox, on the other hand, they you know, when they don't make too many mistakes, but when they make mistakes, they're huge.
Exactly.
Okay. They leave a big footprint when they do. They missed a Jessica Friesen flip in the Knoxville race. Didn't acknowledge it. And also, let's add in that they went side by side during the burnouts for Todd Gilliland. Granted, I'm glad they didn't do that stupid walk out into the middle of the track and get the post-race interview done. Because that's getting annoying. And it's dangerous, nonetheless.
Exactly.
But... you don't go side by side during a burnout. This is what fans wait for.
You gotta make money, you know? You gotta make money, though.
Then the flip. I mean, granted, this was Skeleton Crew. Congrats to Vince Welch, by the way. His daughter just got married. But, you know, I get Jamie Little was, you know, in the booth this race. Probably wasn't prepared for that. But, you know... I don't know how you mess that up. I really don't know how you don't see it. On a half-mile track, I don't know how you miss that.
All I'm going to say is that I thought the race was not very good in general. So it wasn't just Fox. It was the entire product itself was not very, very good. So
to be honest, as we go into the NBC coverage, I will say Fox has been more hit and miss this year than they have been in recent years. Again, unlike NBC that's taking over, at least they finish races before they switch networks or switch to the streaming platforms. I'll give them the credit there. They give NASCAR the due respect it deserves on their networks. But they make a lot of mistakes now. It's clear, you know, like I said, the commercial breaks. Why are you going side by side during a caution and then going to a full commercial break during green flag runs?
Green flag. Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
That makes no sense. You know, I will say, though, the guests in the booth was a lot of fun this year. You know, Tony Stewart being in the booth was great.
Tony Stewart, by the way, I think Tony Stewart's a very, very good commentator. If we get him and Kurt Busch as two play-by-play or two guys in the booth, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah,
or even both of them are outstanding.
Why do you keep
have him? You know, have those three.
You keep cutting to Larry Mack every 2 minutes anyway for the trends. Why not just keep him in the booth and have him do that, and then add
Please get
Tony
rid of Clint
Stewart in?
Boyer, please. His jokes aren't that funny anymore. Please, just get him out of
I
the booth.
I feel bad. You know why he
Starting it.
missed the race? Is he missed the race because he hit somebody with his car. That's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
I do like Clint Boyer. I like him as a person. Um, Obviously, he registered no blood alcohol content, so that's good. But, obviously, thoughts and prayers for everyone involved in that incident. But we move on, of course. I will tell you, before I lead into the story, Hendrick Motorsports, they've made two decisions in the last 5 years. One of them really good, and one of them the worst decision they've ever made. Okay, the worst decision, or the best decision they ever made, they put Chad Knaus in charge of all 4 cars. Best decision.
Yeah.
The worst decision, replacing Chad Knaus with Kevin Mendering. And Kevin Mendering is back on the pit box the next 4 races. He'll be the crew chief for Kyle Larson. In case you missed it, Cliff Daniels is suspended for 4 races because of the wheel that came off at Sonoma. And this might be at a really bad juncture in the season because we enter Nashville this weekend. Kyle Larson is the defending winner of that race. We go to Road America, another Hendrick Strong track. And they're currently down to Trackhouse at the road courses this year. And frankly, even Colleague's been having their number.
Can I say something real quick? Yeah. Am I the only one that thinks this stupid rule about suspending somebody for 4 races is a little ridiculous? I understand the safety is needed, but we have catch fence for a reason on these racetracks. So
the wheel rule is
stupid right now, especially with NASCAR forcing everybody to do the stupid thing with the new one nut.
In year 1, it's stupid. Okay. And
it's not their fault. It's not going on. It's not their fault.
Look,
the fucking thing is just not getting stuck on the thing. It's not like the old wheel where you didn't screw it in enough. That was your own fault. You didn't do that. The people that did it, the pit crew, that's their fault. Right now, it's not their fault because the thing is not clicking on properly. See, that's a malfunction. It's not their fault.
See, there's always flaws with new equipment. Whether it's faulty, whether it, like I said, and this is stuff that's worked on over time.
Right.
This is something, a year in, you got to be like, okay, it's the equipment. Let's work on it this off season. Let's get it better so that way these teams have a little less issue. Then when you perfect it, and it's like, okay, there's very little, like, micro room for error in terms of tire changes. Then you say, okay, now the wheels are still coming off. Now it's on the pit crews because on our end, we've had this percentage of efficiency. Now we need to start punishing people because clearly they're not doing their jobs right.
Only the Cup Series has this lug nut. And none of the other series of the year are using it. They're using it the old-fashioned way. In the old-fashioned way, how long has NASCAR been using that? For as long as I could ever remember. Probably since the start of the start of NASCAR. And so that's been 100 years, 50 years, 60 years of this tire changing method. But now they want to change everything and still penalize people for it. I think it's so stupid. It's like out of left field.
The NASCAR rules and sanctioning body is just, man, they're starting to get like Formula One, where any stupid little thing that they mess up on, they're just gonna slap the book.
It's like Ferrari's just suspension. Ferrari just lost a bunch of points and stuff, and now Leclerc is not even eligible. He's pretty much lost his chances to beat Verstappen. I can't say his name at the time.
Yeah.
Right now. Yes, Verstappen. Yeah. In the championship right now because, well, he's had a couple bad races, and now mathematically he's pretty much
Yeah.
not going to be able to compete
See,
because of this penalty
what
that he was given, which we'll get to that in a minute.
what I will say is the penalty against Keselowski 100% deserved. It was told at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
don't modify the bodies. They are brought in as they are. They are expected to stay that way. 100%. Those are the rules you should be laying the hammer down on. Little faulty technical mistakes shouldn't be one of them right now. 2 years down the road, when this thing is a little bit more perfected and there's less room for error, absolutely go at them with the book. Okay? Right now, it should be, if it is the crew's fault and because you do have someone on pit road watching it, you've got cameras overhead. If it's clearly on the pit crew that they fucked up the pit stop, yeah, hit them with a fine, hit them with a 1-race suspension. Don't be hitting them with the highest penalty you can hit somebody with, because we're at a crucial junction of the season. Say what you want, we're at a crucial juncture of the season, okay? We've got Nashville coming up. Again, we're now 10 races away from the playoffs. This is the part of the season where teams are starting to hit their stride. And this Kyle Larson team, this is the part of the season where they really hit their stride last year and really broke out as the championship contender. Now they go into a race that they have to defend their win. They're not going to have their crew chief. And Kevin Mendering has a bad reputation as a crew chief. He's probably one of the worst in the garage area. And should I add in as well that Dave Allen should have been named Jimmy Johnson's crew chief that year, not Kevin Mendering, because I think Dave Allen's would have done better things. In fact, if you want any proof, go look at the 43 this year. But now you enter Nashville, Road America, 2 races that Hendrick's expected to do pretty damn well in. You enter Atlanta. That one's a wild card race now because of the repave. And then, of course, you enter New Hampshire, another track that's probably going to be Hendrick dominated. And now you have kind of a a crew chief that really doesn't belong in this position. So now this puts Kyle Larson at a disadvantage.
I will want to say New Hampshire, I'm really interested in how that works with the new car. I wonder how that will work because Gateway was okay. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in New Hampshire. I think New Hampshire should be a lot better.
Gateway was one of those races that you kind of wish flew under the radar because it was 50-50 at best. And the only reason I say it should have flown under the radar is keep in mind we've been calling for this race for years. This one, Road America. And that's actually where we're headed next is Road America because Adam Stern announced that the Chicago Street Circuit, more than likely a go in 2023, which will replace Road America. Again, contract expiring. You can tell by us shaking our heads where this is going.
Stock gap again. NASCAR being, let's replace a good track with another shitty track. Well, we'll see that with Nashville. We got Nashville Super Speedway, but in my opinion, is probably the best mile and a half we have on the schedule right now.
A mile and a quarter, actually, believe it or not.
Mile and a quarter, whatever.
Yeah.
I consider it a mile and a half because it's pretty much a mile and a half. It's on the same level as them. But it's the best one we have. It's probably the best NASCAR oval we have on the schedule. Mile and higher. It just is. But they're going to replace that with the fairgrounds, which I think is going to be a mistake. I'm not a huge fan of the fairgrounds. I never have. I think it's too small for NASCAR. And I just don't really like the track.
If you want to do the fairgrounds, do the All-Star race there. How's about that?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I would love it to be there. I just don't think it's really. I'd rather go to North Wilkesboro. I think you can't go to both. I think you can go one. Because you're gonna have too many short tracks on the schedule. People say, you can't have too many short tracks. Yeah, you can. That's the reason why NASCAR got rid of the short ovals, because we had way too many short tracks on the schedule. So they went to the bigger tracks, and then we had too many big tracks. So,
I would have argued 2 weeks ago, before Sonoma, that Sonoma should have been the one that got replaced. Now it's leaning more toward the Indy road course, and that's the obvious one. I'm not going to leave the elephant out of the room with that. Um,
Well, Coda can go too. I'm sorry, Coda.
no,
I mean, Coda. I like Coda,
no,
but
only,
it's not. I think the Indy road course right now, at least last year's race, did
I,
provide a little bit better racing than this year's Coda race. I will say that because I was there.
this
Maybe have
year's
a little
Coda.
opinion on that.
Here's the
But
thing: if we're gonna get rid of Coda, then it's gonna be at the expense of Texas Motor Speedway, and I just can't.
right,
I don't want Texas Motor Speedway to benefit from that. To be honest, and we'll probably dig deeper into the 2023 schedule very, very soon as far as what we want. But what I will say is
you know
if
what we
you
want
dump,
in
you saw my
Texas.
Twitter, the Indy Road
Yes.
course should be gone. Plain and simple.
Right.
Bring back the oval. Make that the regular season finale or whatever you want to make it at this point. And then dump the Texas race date in favor of Road America. Why are we getting rid of our second best road course race? By the way, this road course race was asked for, I believe they went there in 2012 with the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and it's been asked for every single year up until 2020. And now you're only going to run 2 years. They're going to repave, which is something that you've kind of wanted. NASCAR
Which is stupid, by the way.
talking.
The fact that NASCAR wants some fucking place to repave the track for them and exclusively for them, I've always found that so amusing.
Yeah.
Like IRP, the reason why IRP got taken away originally was because they wanted it repaved.
Yeah.
What's the point of repaving a track? IRP has always provided great racing. By the way, I don't think they ever repaved the track. So they're going back to a track that has not been repaved. So it's so counterproductive. I don't know. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
We'll dive into the schedule making later, but again, I just don't see, Road America. I mean, granted, it hasn't been around as long as Watkins Glen, but that race should be given another chance considering it sold out. I think there were 60,000 people at that race on the 4th of July.
It was ridiculous.
The 4th of July used to be a staple in NASCAR, and now it's become a joke because every single year they're changing it around. It's either Indianapolis, Road America. Now it might be the Chicago Street Course. It's such a laughing stock right now as far as how bad it is.
Chicago iceberg, the iceberg guy. Oh, what is this? Is it the iceberg? I don't know.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Whatever it is. He made a video. He made a great video about the Chicago road course, a street course. You guys should go watch it. If you haven't watched it, he discussed it. He gave every reason. He's a former Chicagoan, so he gets it. He understands the city. It's going to be a massive overhaul if they want to do the street course in Chicago. By the way, if you do it on 4th of July weekend, just imagine how crazy the traffic situation is going to get and how ridiculous it's going to be. It's going to be even worse.
There's better
on
markets.
A regular weekend.
There's better markets out there.
Yeah, well, San Antonio, by the way, I've discussed this so many times. Let's have a race at the Alamo. I've said it for IndyCar, but I think NASCAR would be fine with it too. It'd be like a money making thing for NBC if NBC would do it. Like if they give it to NBC or Fox. I'm just saying, do a race at the Alamo. That will really work. If you find a way to make it work.
I'm just saying, I'm fine for replacing A with B. I'm fine with anything replacing A for B, but don't be replacing your best circuits on the schedule. Okay, leave those alone.
Right.
Okay, and I read through Twitter, people were saying, "Oh, we hope it's Watkins Glen. Oh, leave Texas Motor Speedway alone." Look, Watkins Glen last year, I'll admit, the quality was not up to par at Watkins Glen. But let's look at the fact that it's sold out the last 20 years. There's no way they can leave that market. Texas Motor Speedway hasn't put on a good show in, I can't even recall the last time they put on a good show.
2009, when they repaved the track.
Yeah, 2009, 2010, probably the golden years at Texas Motor Speedway. But now, they don't put on a good show. You have Coda in the market. I think you're fine there.
Yeah, I think you're fine unless you want to do a street course in San Antonio. Like I said, that'd be a good place. When it comes to street courses, though, I think the most logical one, and it makes sense for NASCAR and for everybody, it's to do a doubleheader with IndyCar at Detroit. Get rid of Michigan.
Exactly.
That's my personal opinion. I think you can't have a race at Michigan and a street course race at Detroit. You just can't do it. There's too much going on in that market.
Do 2 races
because
at
you barely
Auto
get
Club
people
too.
to show up. You barely get anybody to show up at Michigan.
Do 2
Auto
races
Club's
at Auto Club to make up for it.
Auto Club is 10 times better of a track, and it always
Yeah.
has been. It's a much bigger, better track, and it was the original track, wasn't it? Because Michigan was a copy of it.
Yeah, something like that.
So, and by the way, Roger Penske built the place, so or owned the track at one point. So, it tells you anything. I don't want anything to do with Michigan Motors.
I think they're putting the short track on the back burner. Everything I've been hearing is they're putting the short track on the back burner now, which is great because honestly, after the show that was put on earlier this year, it should be put on the back burner.
Yeah, and if you need to repave it, just repave it. It's not going to change anything. Auto Club is like different than any other track I know. I think it can surpass a repave. Unless you pave it like Atlanta and change the banking and want to make it a super speedway. Leave it the way it is and use the worst pavement you can ever think of because that gives it character. Okay, so in my opinion,
So the president of Nice Motorsports was on a podcast earlier this week, and they were asked about their ambitions to go NASCAR Xfinity Series racing. Well, we decided instead of stepping up a single step, why don't we step up 2 and go to the Cup Series, is what the president had announced. Their plans, their ambitions are hoping to go Cup racing in 2023. They haven't announced whether it's full-time, part-time. It's anticipated as part-time with Carson Hocevar as the driver of the car. Now, let's be real here that Carson Hocevar is probably the second best guy in the Chevy camp right now. He's had some bad luck. Well, I'll admit he's had a lot of bad luck this year. But there are many races he was in contention this year. He should have 2 or 3 wins in the Truck Series right now. So I don't think rushing him to Cup is the right idea. I don't think with Nice Motorsports it's a good idea. I would say give him a year at Junior Motorsports because it's very apparent, and I think it's a very poorly kept secret that Noah Gragson's going Cup racing next year. So there's going to be an open seat. Carson Hocevar can drive for Junior Motorsports full-time. He can drive a part-time slate with Nice in the trucks, like Ross Chastain's been doing. It'll be just fine.
Oh, by the way, just let you know, Mr. Nice, please just get out of NASCAR, delete your team, get out, please.
Yeah, there's a video on our channel about that. For the love of God,
please. We've gone over it before. I've had an entire video that I posted to this channel.
It's still up.
Still up, by the way. Go watch it. It's a very, very good video. It just Nice moments, and I may make another one at some point down the road because I still see Nice cars every time I watch a truck race spinning out. It's just, in my opinion, again, Nice Motorsports. Please just go jump off the side of the road and never come back. Please dump your shop. Please. Off the side of the road.
I hope that they can find sponsorship for Hocevar to drive because you know what? I hope he either gets. I said Junior Motorsports because they're going to have an open ride. I wouldn't even be opposed to Colleague Racing signing him to drive the 10 next year because I think he does deserve his shot at Xfinity next year. I feel like he's ready for that next step. He's a few good wins away from that next step. I mean, I think last year he was in the Championship 4, or he was very close to making it. And, this year he's matured a lot. Hell, he drove to the pole at Sonoma with a broken tibia. And keep in mind how much you have to play with your feet at that track on the brake and the gas pedal compared to other road courses. So that takes guts, that takes strength, and he absolutely deserves a shot at the next level. But I will say, if he's going to go to the next level, if I were Carson Hocevar, I wouldn't get sold on staying in the Chevy program right now. Because you look at the depth at the Cup level in the Chevy program, there's not many good seats out there because of all
Well,
the
yeah,
heavy contracts.
I think we have enough Chevy teams. I think they should cap amount of cars per manufacturer in the series. I'm sorry, I think there's way too many Chevys on the track right now. If I was Carson, I would go to a Toyota team personally.
I would go to Ford at this point.
Oh, you could
I
go to
feel
Ford
like
too, but I think
Ford's-
Ford's gonna lose. Tony Haas is gonna leave. I'm sorry.
I mean, Ford is
Stuart Haas is gonna leave because they're gonna go to Dodge. So then they're gonna be even worse.
But let's be fair though. Stuart Haas is about to go through, I think, what's going to be a massive changing of the guard around Chase Briscoe. I mean, Harvick's close to retirement. Almirola's already announced retirement.
I think that Haley Deegan's going to end up in the 4 car. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
and then I was actually going to add too, Cole Custer's got to be on the hot seat right now. There's no way he's in any way, shape, or form safe to keep his ride. So,
well, you got to think Ryan Preece is going to have one of those cars. So
yeah, Ryan Preece for sure will get one of those
Ryan Preece
rides.
and Haley Deegan. I'm sorry, Haley Deegan's going to Stuart Haas. That's the only reason why she's in the 1 truck. So
I wouldn't be shocked if they pry Noah Gragson away from Chevy as well to fill out one of their rides.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if he's in the 10 car next year, to be honest. And then Ryan Preece is in the 41.
Well, it could be the 4, yeah.
So I think Harvick will stick around another year. Then you'll have Gragson, Briscoe, and Preece in the other cars. And then that'll give Haley Deegan a shot at Xfinity because I think Riley Herbst is gone at this point. He's had 2 years to prove. He's had basically 3 years to prove himself and hasn't done anything with it. So, and look at the quality of the David Gilliland trucks. I mean, with the exception of Todd's, because you knew Todd was going to get a great truck at Knoxville. Right. I mean, yeah, Haley Deegan crashes a lot, and she needs to work on that. 100%. She's got a lot to work on.
But she's also driving trucks. So I'm going to say this right now. There's a difference between a truck and a car.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like to say, oh, trucks are a development series for the Cup Series. No, they need to go to the Xfinity Series first. It's kind of a separate entity. Haley Deegan needs to get to the Xfinity Series. That's what needs to happen. And as soon as possible. We've seen that with, that's what Natalie Decker did, by the way. That hasn't worked out because she ain't a good driver anyway. At times, I've seen her on her own stream using a racing line while practicing this was last week or a couple weeks ago, at Nashville Super Speedway. Okay. Mm-hmm. She was literally using the racing line on iRacing to figure out what line to use. She is a professional race car driver. Is she using a racing line in a video game? Tells you how good she is at racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
What I will say,
I don't care if she's a woman. I don't care.
Look at what Haley Deegan did in SRX last year against arguably the guys with the biggest resume in all of racing. Helio Castroneves, Tony Stewart, Tony Kanaan. Well, I don't think she raced Kanaan more than once last year. But she ran against guys with pretty damn big resumes, and she ran up front with them. She really took it to them.
Right.
It's clear what she can do in a car. But again, my concern lies with, can she stop crashing cars? Because she has crashed trucks to no end. And that's what I think's going to scare her away from a ride in the future if she doesn't clean that up.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, crashing the truck is your fault unless someone touches you. Which
exactly.
No one, every wreck I've seen her in, I haven't seen her spun or, crashed into. So it's 100% on her.
But we can all say that she has more talent than Danica Patrick ever had. So that's just a fact.
But what I was going to say is because Ford's going through a changing of the guard, I feel like that's the best bet for Carson Hocevar. It's clear Toyota's too cutthroat. I just don't think Hocevar has what it takes to stay in a Toyota ride necessarily. At least in a top ride.
We'll see. Is Kyle Busch under contract for next year?
I mean, there's three rides up for grabs in that Toyota program.
I think Denny needs to go. By the way, I'm
Denny's
sorry. I don't care how
Denny's
good
probably going to
Denny
his
just
own
needs
race team eventually. I don't know,
eventually. But how many years
but
in 11 car can he be without winning a championship? I'm sorry. Seriously, how
mhm.
many years? He's been.
see
He's never gonna be. In my opinion, he should not be in the Hall of
see,
Fame unless he
but
wins a
on the
championship.
bright side, if Carson Hocevar went to Toyota, he'd be the next ready Cup driver because you know what? John Hunter is the only guy in the Toyota camp right now in the lower series that's ready to go Cup racing. He's the only one. And don't give me that Ty Gibbs has won 25% of the starts that he's raced in. Look at how he's acted. Look at how he's run the
Yeah.
last few races. Look at how he races his opponents. Okay? Let me put it this way. To all you haters that said that Austin Dillon was a silver spoon kid, at least he was grateful for his rides and didn't like go around bragging about grandpa's money. Okay, Ty Gibbs
Right.
has got that attitude, and frankly, he better knock it off because I could tell you right now, he does something like that to Kevin Harvick at the Cup level. No pit crew is going to protect him from what Kevin Harvick's going to
No.
do to him. Okay,
No. Or Kyle Busch. Just even to say Kyle
yeah,
Busch, he would probably kick his ass.
not
Let's be
even
honest.
Kyle
Kyle
Busch.
Busch will kick his ass.
Hey, this is why he
And
should
Kyle
have.
Busch will go after his own teammates. We've seen that in the past,
Yep,
so don't be surprised. And the people he's gone,
yeah.
the people
I
he
will
works
say,
with, he goes after them because it's Kyle Busch.
frankly,
So
I would promote Chandler Smith before I promoted Ty Gibbs. And Chandler Smith isn't quite ready. Chandler Smith is like he's probably a solid year of Xfinity away from being ready. I'll give him that. He's really developed this year. So Chandler Smith's about there. Brandon Jones, I feel like was a hit and miss. He's had so many years. He's kind of like Justin Allgaier now, where he's going to be kind of an Xfinity lifer. And then I'm trying to think of who else is in the Toyota camp right now. I mean, Corey Heim's going to probably run the trucks next year. Drew Dollar's a mess. And then Trevor Bayne, I think, is long past. I don't think Trevor Bayne's looking at any full-time opportunities at this point.
no,
He
he's too
seems
old at this
he
point.
he seems very content with what he's doing right now. So that leaves ultimately John Hunter and Ty Gibbs. And Ty Gibbs, maybe another year of Xfinity, he'll be ready to go, but he has to clean up his act. Okay.
Right. I think he needs a couple more years.
He's
Until I don't think he should be
he's
in the Cup Series until Kyle
here's
Busch
the thing.
retires. So whenever that time
I
happens, he can go to the 18.
I will say he has the talent to do well at the Cup level. I'll
Right.
give him the credit there. He doesn't have the attitude. I can tell you right now, he doesn't have the attitude, and he doesn't. To me, he wouldn't have the respect of his peers. And I'm sorry, but as a rookie, you go in there acting like the hot shot, you're gonna get dumped. And
Exactly.
like I said, and we said, how Harvick and Kyle Busch would race him. Imagine if he did that to Joey Logano. Joey Logano's the one for years. You hit him, he hits you twice as hard. So that's what he'd have to watch
Well,
for.
Ty Gibbs reminds me of Joey Logano when he came in. So, in many
Well,
ways.
let's
So,
let's be fair though. Joey Logano for a while there, we kept saying he needs to start defending himself because I mean Harvick was wrecking him week in and week out with no cause.
right.
But ultimately going back to Carson Hocevar, a year of Xfinity will do him good. But again, I feel like Chevy is probably not his best bet to go forward. Just based on the contracts and based on who's at the Cup level in top tier Chevys, it's a very stiff competition right now. And there's nothing wrong with that, but for the younger guys, it's obviously going to make it much harder for someone like Sam Mayer to get into the Cup level. It's going to make it much harder. I mean, Noah Gregson's going to have no problem. But beyond Gregson, it's going to be a lot harder for these Chevy development guys to go up. Because all the Chevy guys at the Cup level have youth and talent or grandpa's money to keep their rides.
Exactly.
But let's get on to the picks. Trying Truck Series at Nashville. Who do you got here?
I don't know. I'm just gonna put a wild card out there. I'm just gonna say Haley Deegan.
Wow.
Just say it.
That's
just
to
say it. Maybe she gets
there. It is.
She did race well. She did well last year at Nashville. I think she got in a wreck, but I don't think it was her fault. She had a pretty good truck, so I'd be surprised.
Yeah. What I will say is having the Cup guys in the David Gilliland trucks, like Todd Gilliland, actually help a lot.
Is Ryan Preece racing this weekend?
That is an unknown.
Because if he is, he won last year's race, so I'll say Ryan Preece.
Sorry, I can't see my keyboard, so it's...
You went completely... Light just completely turned off.
Yeah, because I'm on... my document's my backlight, so that's kind of why that is. For the Truck Series, I got Carson Hocevar, to be honest. I'm going to put that out there. He's due. Carson Hocevar's beyond due for a Cup win. Or truck win, rather. And I just feel like this is his race to finally do it. He's been on a hot streak, except for the crashes here and there. And Ryan Preece is in the trucks this weekend, so...
So I'm picking Ryan Preece to win this week.
Yeah.
That's my pick.
But I wouldn't even be shocked if Zane Smith wins. Zane Smith is ready to move at this point. But anyway, Xfinity Series at Nashville now.
I'll just say Ty Gibbs. This because, there's... I don't know.
I'm going to say Tyler Reddick, honestly. He's in the Big Machine Racing car this weekend. And you know what happened last time? He was in Big Machine's 48.
Yeah.
So, again, we know what Tyler Reddick's capable of in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
We'll see. We'll see if he doesn't get wrecked out by Natalie Decker. Yeah. We'll see.
If she makes the field, that's going to be the big if.
If she makes the field.
All right, Cup Series at Nashville now.
I'd love to say my guy, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. I have a feeling that Truex isn't going to win a race this year. For some reason, I have a feeling. I don't know why.
The next gen has really not helped Toyota so far.
Yeah. And they're going to blame Truex for the reason why they haven't won. He's been competitive. He's been trying his hardest. He's just he hasn't had the car. He really has not. You're completely right on that.
Look at the whole Toyota camp as a whole. It's Joe Gibbs hasn't had the cars, and 2311 hasn't had the pit crews. The only exception is Kurt Busch, who found victory lane randomly at Kansas, like he does every year.
It's because it's Kurt Busch.
That's true. That's true.
And he's a former champion, so he can find a way. So I don't know. I think I'll go with Reddick for the Cup Series. I think he'll finally break through.
He's like Carson Hocevar. He's due for a win.
Yeah.
But what I will say is this was a Hendrick-dominated race last year. I wouldn't be shocked if Trackhouse plays in. Now, at the beginning of the year, I said RCR would lead the way in terms of Chevy the Chevys this year. And I'll admit I fell flat on my face with that because they're the third best Chevy team right now.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Kyle Larson because this was the point in the year where he heated up, but now Kevin Mendering's his crew chief, so I'm going to go with William Byron. I think he's the next hottest guy in the Hendrick stable, and I feel like this is a track that he can finally get that third win and break away from Ross Chastain in terms of the playoff grid.
We'll see. I think I picked Reddick because you think about it, Nashville's got multi-line racing, and you can run right up on the wall, and I feel like that will really help Reddick. So,
yeah, I can agree with that. But that's all we got for this week. So Zach, thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the team. Be sure
I
to.
will say real quick
Yep.
about Formula One. This week's race was Red Bull dominant. It was really interesting
Oh
that
shoot, I
we
forgot about
got
that.
real. It was really interesting and how it shaped out the qualifying because of the weather.
Hmm.
But I'm not surprised. Ferrari really needs to figure out their stuff. I feel bad for Carlos Sainz. I mean, I'm a Carlos fan, so I feel bad for him. He's finished second so many 5 times now. He has not won a race. He's finished
Hmm.
second 5 times. Um, it's really sad. It just really is to me. But yeah, I think the race was good compared to Azerbaijan. I think Azerbaijan, in my opinion, is my favorite track on the Formula One schedule. Just
Hmm.
like the layout. But I think Canada was better this year, and it may be because we haven't seen it for a few years. So, um, but I can't wait for the race at Coda this year. I really can't.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Um, you know, obviously we're looking forward to that. Next year they'll have Vegas
Yep.
added in. But again, so Zach, thanks. I don't want to comment too much
Yep.
because I haven't watched much Formula One, but
You should, but
yeah,
you're not a huge fan. So I wish
no,
you would be, but you're not. So
yeah. I just wish the competition gap was closer. That's
it's
where I feel
it's
like,
pretty close right now. I mean, it's kind of like IndyCar is. IndyCar right now isn't very competitive because Penske is running the show because he owns everything.
yeah,
But it's kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit more not competitive as IndyCar is.
yeah,
I don't know. It's just a little
yeah.
less competitive.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. But again, Zach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
And again, be sure to check out Tinkle Focus. It'll be coming up real soon here on Tinkle
yeah,
Sports and Entertainment. Of course, Out of Turn 4 will be back on Tuesday. Check out No Final Bell tomorrow afternoon at some point. And then, of course, be sure to check out Sunday Morning Tinkle. We couldn't record this week, but we will be back on Sunday at 9 a.m. So be sure to check that out. And otherwise, we'll see you back here next week. Until then, goodbye, everyone.